Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Surah Nisa ki
This is the fourth verse of Surah Nisa, chapter 4 of the Holy Quran, where the dars will begin today, inshallah.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wa in khiftum alla tuqsitu fil yatama fankihu ma ta'aba lakum minan nisa'i مثنى والثلاث والرباع فإن خفتم ألا تعدلوا فواحدة أو ما ملكت أيمانكم ذلك أدنى ألا تعولوا. ये जो आयत 4 जिसकी मैंने तिलावत की है,
This verse, which Huzur has just recited, this verse has is contains many discussions which will take a long time, and in this verse the permission of marrying more than one is appears to be found, and then some conditions are attached to it, and because this permission of polygamy has been attacked by by Christian priests, and also the Aryas in India. They have constantly used they have alleged sarcastic remarks they have made sarcastic remarks against this verse. Therefore it has to be discussed in detail, and Huzur saying that I've also experienced that whenever I go into question and answer sessions, whether or not people give the reference of this, but this subject is often discussed, and sometimes there is a clear proof that some people who are asking questions have been prepared by some priests that you must ask this question, and when the matter is revealed before them, is clear to them, then the misunderstandings are removed, and it has never been that this the discussion of this has ever been of any problem for Islam. It always the victory, the crown of victory is always on the head of Islam. But it's only saying that if you do not understand this verse properly, and how what allegations are made against it and what the response is, then because of this lack of knowledge, people find a weakness in responding to this the allegations against this verse. Whereas this is something which should be raised. You should take it up yourself, because this in fact has great proofs of the victory of Islam. And if anyone's going to be embarrassed, other people should be embarrassed. There is no need for anyone to be no Muslim to be embarrassed about the subject in this verse. Now the translation of this, which Huzur is saying that is the normal translation, simple translation. I'll read it from the English. Huzur is saying that and if you fear that you, the society, may fail to do justice in matters concerning orphans in the aftermath of war, then marry women of your choice, 2 or 3 or 4. Huzur is saying that whom you like, that Huzur is describing a Urdu word. If something is liked, or it's according to what you want, then that is called that is what is meant. Mataba means this, that of ladies who are pure for you, who are good for you, and who are in accordance with your character, and from them your home should feel fresh. Then such women you should marry, 2 or 3 or 4. And if you fear, فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ, and this is a repetition, because of the permission was granted in the beginning out of a fear, and then another fear has been put here, which puts a such condition on it, on this, limits it. Huzur is saying that this is an incredible part of this verse, which you must, if you understand it, you'll realize how great this verse is, and this is the secret which a lot of commentators have not understood. That there are 2 fears, and the permission is between the 2 fears. So if there is this fear, then you should marry 2 or 3 or 4, and if there is this fear, then only marry 1. So what are those fears? Both fears are the same. They are from different angles. They are looked at. The first fear is Allah tuqsitu fil yatama, that if you are not able to have justice when it comes to orphans, then you can marry more than 1. And the other fear is that if you cannot cannot show justice with your wives, then stay on 1. That is that in order to fulfill the rights of the orphans, you can't be allowed to transgress against women. And if you do that, if you cannot sacrifice women on your higher aims, you must maintain justice, and women should not be made the lambs to the slaughter. And so these are the 2 fears between which this has been tied. Allah ta'adilu, فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ Allah ta'adilu, and if you fear that you will not deal justly, فَوَاحِدَةً, then marry only 1. Or مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ, or or what your right hands possess, that is the maids that are given to the care of people after a war, who are prisoners. And this, Allah is saying that that is the nearest way for you to avoid injustice. That is that one marriage is nearest to justice, and it's a safe option. And remember that the permission to marry more than 1 was given because to stop an injustice, but the injustice of the aim of injustice should not be transferred to another situation. So therefore, and then only 1 is enough. And Allah says ذَلِكَ أَدْنَىٰ أَن, that if you marry 1 only, then there is no chance of you, or there is little chance of you to be injustice. Huzur is saying that people can be people are unjust to 1 wife as well. But what it means is that this other aspect of injustice, that the injustice among 2 different wives, the best way to keep away from that injustice is to marry only 1. So this is the logic which is saying I've explained to you, and this will be discussions will come later on, that is it a permission or is it a limitation. Huzur is saying that I have explained this very clearly in a lot of my question and answer sessions, that actually this is it points towards a custom which was limited. It doesn't mean that because they were orphans, therefore they were permitted to marry more than one, whereas it was a custom of the Arabs, because that they, or the people of the book, that they only used to marry one wife. At that time, people used to marry hundreds of wives sometimes, and in Africa, even today, there the idolatrous Africa, there are no limitation, and in fact this is also in Muslim societies, that they can marry up to 100 ladies, because these days to marry more than one wife is customary for financial reasons. He was saying that in Africa, for example, most women do most of the work, and they are the ones who plow the land, and they put the seed in, and they give children, and they give birth to children, and then they tie the women behind them, and they also do the farming, and then they take the crop, and they go and take it to the markets and sell it. Such a wife is not a burden. She is a support. So men often relax and become lazy when they have wives like that. And also Huzur is saying that inheritance comes from the woman. For example, if someone passes away, then his children will not get the inheritance. His sister's children will get inheritance. So we're saying that I'm just telling you this as a side issue. The fact is that there are some desires which are to do with the matrimonial matters. They are not kept in mind, because it's impossible for someone to fulfill the rights of many women, and there are many other reasons as well, and these have been added to these customs, and they're very old customs, and these were in Arab as well, and they were very firmly rooted in their society. So therefore, this is not a permission of marrying more than one. It's actually a restriction. Huzur is saying that this is not as a defense that I give this answer. This is absolutely correct. So sometimes Huzur is saying that more than one marriage is required, and they are permitted, but the Islam has limited the polygamy to 4, and after limiting it to 4, this permission has been taken back if one cannot maintain justice. So practically, its use is made very limited. Whether someone keeps its spirit in view and marries more than one, or marries for their own self-sake, that's something else. But as far as the Quranic command is concerned, this is what it says. The different commentators and different Orientalists and different people who have been alleging things, saying that I shall take up their discussions, and I'll now turn to this verse. Now, first of all, we're saying that let us now look at the words. Qasata qistun is justice, and fair-mindedness. Bil qist is used for justice. Wa in hakamta fahakum bainahum bil qist, that whenever you rule or you make decisions, then you should decide with justice. Qasid is a transgressor or cruel person, or someone who denies, who rejects. This is Allah says, "Ammal qasiduna qasid." Sorry, I didn't miss the rest of the verse. Allah says that as far as the transgressors are concerned, the hell will be their place of burning. Hatab is the is the raw material that burns, so that, which means that they will burn in hell. Aqsata is to be just. This is the Arabic style of a language, that if someone is taken to Bab-e Ifal, then the opposite meaning comes out of it. If Qasata means to be cruel, then Iqsat would mean to be just, and Aqsata fihi wa ilayhi. Here, justice is meant. Antasuhum wa tuqsitu ilayhim. The Holy Quran says, Muqsit is refers to someone who does justice. So where the Qasata is from which this word is made, Qaf, Sin and Twe, and from these three letters, the tense is called Salasi Mujarrad, and such three lettered words are used a lot in Arabic, and a lot of these words are based on these three lettered word, and they're called Salasi, that is three, and Mujarrad is when something is on its own and it hasn't been changed. Salasi Mujarrad is that Salasi which is about three letters, and from that then new meanings come out, and Salasi Mazid Fi keeps these three verses in mind and then transfers them into a different mold, and this is then called Mazid Fi, and the new words are made out of it, such molds in which that is put in, and other words are added to it, and always they are put in with different rules, etc. This is the Salati Mazid Fi, who's saying people who don't even know that much Arabic. This is something which is usually used in day-to-day talk, and it should be understood. So most Arabic words are made out of three letters, and if they remain three-lettered words, then what will they be called? Salasi Mujarrad. Mujarrad means something which is not married or alone, so single. So he's saying that there are some people who are Mujarrad, not necessarily Zuri is saying that we're talking about marriages, so that this is when somebody so there are some Salasis who have married a lot and have got other letters with it, and some of them are called Bab-e Ifal, which only adds one letter to it. For example, Qasata, that he was cruel. Aqsata, he was just, and is mentioned in the Holy Quran about fasting. Yutiquna ataqa yutiqu. Taqa is meant, it refers to someone who has power, and ataqa would mean who does not have power. So this ataqa yutiqu, akbara afala yufilu, aqsata yuqsitu, these are things which have the same meaning at the same time, one meaning at the same time. So it makes a possibility for people who are trying to make the translation, where you can either make the translation positive or negative. So, but you can't just do it the way you like. You have to use it properly, appropriately, and that will tell you whether you can do a negative meaning or a positive meaning. And if both meanings can be given to it, then it should be you can do that. Huzur saying that I've shed light on this in my Friday sermon, that when it comes to the subject of fasting, I've explained it in my Friday sermon, Yutika Yutako, that those who can fast, they should give fidya, and those who can fast, they should also give fidya. So we're saying that you should remember this well now, that qasata is also of the Salasi Mujarrid, which when they go into Bab Ifal, then instead of the last lack of justice, it means justice. And this is why it says Allah tuqsitu fil yatama, aqsata, that someone was just, and tuqsat, that you are just. So if you are afraid that you will not be just when it comes to orphans, then this is what you should do. Maqsad is ism fa'il, which means one who acts in accordance with justice. In Allah yuhibbul muqsitin, Allah says in the Holy Quran that Allah loves the muqsitin. That means those who are just. Huzur saying Taba, I've already explained the meaning. The translations of this, the translations that are written, different translations. One of them is for something to be good, and it means to give with pleasure. Tuba lahum wa husnu ma'ab. In this, the word tuba has also similar meaning. It is derived from taba, toy alif be, that it was slaughtered, or it became good, or to give to someone with happiness. And tuba means happiness and fortune. The Holy Quran says Tuba lahum wa husnu ma'ab, and use it in such a way as if they have glad tidings for them. And the meaning is of glad tidings, but it means that for them it will be a source of a pure and happy time. And like we say tayyib, that something is pure and clean. So tayyib doesn't just mean that not just the food should be tasty. It should also smell nice, and you should feel it should look good to you. You should like it. So the believers have been told not to just have things that are halal. You have to have things that are pure and cleansed as well. So they have better is expected of the believers, that they should have things which are appropriate and pure and clean, etc. So tabalakum minan nisa'i, from this regard, would mean that those ladies who have all these qualities in them, from when they come, they add goodness to your home, and they have good nature, and they are pleasant, and they improve the situation, and that's the kind of women you should marry. So tabalakum is very important here. It's not an ordinary permission, because in such a regard the real purpose would be finished if it was a general permission, because often by marrying more than one, it makes it more difficult for orphans. There are injustices and insults and so on. So this condition is included in it, and people usually ignore it. If you are afraid of injustice, you should marry, but then you should only bring such women into the world who make your society good, And so don't just bring anyone to your home just because you are permitted, because this is exactly the opposite of the real purpose. Because in for one woman, the environment to remain good with one wife is more likely than with more than one wife. The next word is qawudu. The real meaning of this word is for something to lessen. Al mizan yaulu olam yaulu alan naqsa wajara. That is something which is reduced, or something has been put somewhere because of a transgression, and it is described as qala yaulu qala fi fulan fil mizani, that someone has been al in weighing something. That means he has been dishonest. Al mizana alan, that he made the scales bend, so he was unjust. Ala amrul qawli istabda. If a people's matter becomes al, then that means that they have a problem coming over them, so the problem became complicated. Ala naqatu zanabaha ala fulanun alan wa ayalatun. That if someone becomes ala, which means that kasrate ayal, ahlu ayal, is that someone is has got a lot of family, so kasrate ayal, and someone has a lot of family and injustice. What does that have to do? What do these have to do with each other? If someone is poor and they have a lot of children, they are not unable to fulfill the rights of anyone. And about that, there's an Arab poet says, who was reading the Arabic, that the wolf was screaming in the desert as if he had a lot of family, and he's poor and he's crying. So this is what the injustice means, that if someone has more children than he can bear, then he will be unjust to all of them. Rather than he can take care of. Then ala also means, one of the meanings is ala sabruhu wa ila sabruhu ghalaba waftakhara fahuwa ma'udun. I think Huzur said, reading some more Arabic, that means that someone whose patience ends and he starts to scream loudly. Keeping all these meanings in view, the translation would be Allah la ta'ulu فإن خفتم ألا تعدلوا فواحدة وأما ملكت أيمانكم ذلك أدنى ألا تعولوا. Is therefore saying that some commentators have translated this to mean that this is closer to this, that you shouldn't have too many children, you shouldn't make too many children, but this is only one meaning. The real meaning in this regard, that you want to keep away from injustice, and if you have only one wife, then the chance of injustice will be much less, and also you will also be screaming and wailing less, because if you marry more than one wife and you cannot do taba, then you don't do justice, and there'll be a lot of noise, and there'll be no peace. You'll be beaten in both houses, and at that time, no matter how much you scream, it's not going to help you. So this is not something that you should desire. It should not is not to fulfill your desires. It's a great responsibility that's being placed on you, and if you make any mistakes in this, then you'll have big problems.
लिसान अरब में वो जो मैंने कहा था ना ज़्यादा अयाल वाला
Lisan al-Arab, where it says about the people who have more children or more family, that's meant here. Hazrat Imam Shafi has taken this meaning that keep your wives as one, otherwise you will have a lot of children, a lot of family, and you will not be able to take care of them. Therefore, Lisan al-Arab has given this reference, Ala amrul qawlan ishtadda wa tafaqama. They're saying this is an extra meaning which is not necessary to mention here. Now Imam Jalaluddin Suyuti says about this verse, different opinions and different backgrounds are given, which I'll put before you. According to him, Ikramah says that Quraysh had a habit that if someone had came across orphans, they would finish their own. When they finished their own wealth, they would then take up the orphans of the orphans' wealth. They were saying this is so strange that this is found in a lot of commentaries. They say that this was a custom that they used to women who had children, they used to marry them more than once, and when their own wealth used to finish, then they used to begin eating their wealth. They were saying this is so wrong. Why should someone who is so cruel, why would they wait to finish their own wealth first? Huzur is saying this is just imaginary, this has nothing to do with this verse. The situation described in this verse is that of prisoners, etc., and increase in the number of orphans and widows in the times of war, and such. It's also about such orphan-laden girls whose parents were wealthy, and their father, for example, so we're saying that their fathers were wealthy and they passed away in the battle, and about marrying them, this applies to that as well. So such girls were used to be given to someone to take care of them, because in such situations you couldn't keep someone in your home unless they were the caretakers, and it may well be that this verse may only apply to such orphans whose mothers has also passed away, and in that sense it was essential that someone should be appointed to look after them. And this manner is also now seen these days, and therefore Rasul is saying that in Rabba I have instructed that such people who do not have guardians in their homes and who can look after them, they are mature Ansar should have duty that they should look after those people and should ask them if they need anything, and they should keep an eye on the health and the well-being of the children. And it should not be that this should remain away from your attention, and because they don't have any guardian, they might have some problems that may arise in them, which may be a problem for them and for the society in general. So this is a must. Some Orientalists attack Islam in a very ignorant manner, and they say that Islam does not trust any women, and this is all because Islam doesn't trust women. And they say that no woman, Islam thinks that no woman can take care of herself, and this is why Islam has taken up this question, this issue, that when there is a orphan girl, you must take her into somebody's guardianship. Huzur is saying this is completely wrong. There are other orphans other than in battles as well. When did Islam give the command that those girls whose fathers die, they should immediately be given to someone, into someone's care. So this is an ignorant matter and has nothing to do with this verse. There is no question of trust or lack of trust. The point is of justice and injustice, and any translation which does not keep the justice in mind, and any any such a meaning, it will not be correct. So it's been very clear. Two boundaries have been set on the two ends of this verse, and one, this justice on one side and justice on the other side, that because of the justice you have to stop yourself, and because the adl was meant, so it is actually a restriction the Quran is placing. The Holy Quran makes it very clear that the more people marry more than one, then there'll be more chances of lack of justice, so much so that 4 is the limit, except those who have been given the brilliant way of showing justice. And the Holy Prophet ﷺ, had an exception to this number, and the reason for this was that the Holy Prophet ﷺ was capable of incredible justice, and so he had the right because he was able to do this. So therefore the 4 is a restriction. Ordinarily people, the possibility of keeping becomes very far off possibility if someone can maintain justice when they have more than one wife. So the general instruction is that after today you're not going to marry more than 4 wives. So this is a restriction, not a permission, because in Arabs this was a custom present at the time of marrying more than 4. Rich people used to marry a lot of women, sometimes even hundreds of women. So in such a situation, what is the meaning of giving permission? They were already permitted, they were always doing it, and then once the restriction was given, then the companions had the problem as to who they should keep and who they should divorce, because a lot of the companions were such that they had more than 4 wives, and the problem was that who should be kept. They weren't running to find more wives. This is not mentioned anywhere. So this was a restriction. So there was restriction were placed on the number rather than to increased it, and the issue of polygamy is discussed here. Allah says that you do polygamy, but remember that you can't increase it more than 4, and you should do this. You should do act on polygamy in order to do some for the betterment of the society. There are orphan girls in the society which cannot be permitted to be left for themselves, and if it does happen, then it would create problems in the society. So if there is a permission, so the permission is for purposes of the establishment of justice, and not for the removal of justice or lack of justice. Huzur is saying that the different reasons that are given as to why this command was given. Hazrat Ibn Abbas, it is said that he said that to limit a man to 4 marriages is in order to protect the rights of orphans, the financial rights of orphans. Huzur is saying this is not correct, because the Holy Quran is saying that this is for the purposes of to take care of the rights of justice. Every situation in which you are afraid that you might be unjust. You are permitted, and it's not just merely a matter of marrying the
किया गया है
orphans.
और उनको फायदा पहुंचाने
It just so happened that at that time when
बुनियादी तौर पर
this situation is to benefit the orphans, but the main purpose is not that. The main purpose is justice, and justice, that's the main purpose of this religion. Imam Morusi has said the same thing, which Durr Mansoor has written.
मंसूर जिल्द 2 सफ़ा 118
Durr Mansoor,
तमाम
volume 2, page 118. Imam Jalaluddin Sahib Suyuti has brought this reference of Ikrimah, and then he mentions Ibn Abbas and says that to limit to 4 weddings is for the sake of the upholding the financial rights of the orphans, and the Ruhul Maani also gives the same meaning. There is a reference from Hazrat Aisha Anha which is to be kept in view, because the purpose of this verse becomes extremely limited as a result, and the Holy Prophet ﷺ Sunnah and the Sunnah of his companions and the Caliphs is exactly against that. So any tradition which is found in such books of tradition which clash with the other well-known traditions and the Holy Quran, then they can't be correct, or people have misunderstood the meaning. But he was saying, I'll present it to you. It says that Aisha Zanha it says about this verse, in Khiftum, that this verse was revealed about someone in whose care there is a wealthy orphan girl, and no one else can look after her. I was already saying that this is such a rare situation, that should be a wealthy lady who is also kalala. That means that she doesn't have no one else to take care of her, and this is for the sake. This verse was revealed for the sake of protection of such a girl, whereas this is such a vast subject, and it's very clear from the Holy Quran and also from the traditions and from the actions of the companions of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, that it is wrong to limit it to this. Asbab al-Nuzul, Ali bin Ahmad al-Wahidi, I think Huzur said, he has said this. They have also said that the reason for its revelation is about a particular girl, and also this was the style and the custom of the Arabs, that they would keep away from, they perhaps mean the companions, that this was their style, that they used to keep away from the wealth of the orphans, and they used to regard it to be okay to marry women, and they used to marry whom they wanted, and sometimes they would be just to them, sometimes they wouldn't be just to them. And when they asked about the orphans, then this verse was revealed. It was saying this is also a strange scenario has been created here, and there doesn't seem to be any substance in it, and it appears to be quite pointless. Imam Razi writes in his book Tafsir Kabir, verse 9, that verse 175 onwards, he said that people used to feel, according to this verse, they used to feel reluctant to take care of orphans. Who used to feel this? The Muslims, he means. After a war, when there were orphans, when there were a large number of orphans, and many companions were worried about taking on their care, and the reason and the clue to this, they say, is in the word وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ, that if you are afraid. So they were afraid that they might be unjust to the poor, sorry, to the orphans. They refused to, they pulled their hands away from their care. So they have been told that yes, it is good to be afraid, but we should tell you the solution, that you should accept the responsibility and you should marry more than one. Huzur is saying, what is the connection here? Huzur is saying that this needs to be requires some consideration. So, and Huzur said we'll return to this subject later on as to what the connection is. Imrazi says that this means that then you should do nikah with those women who are permitted for you, and he says that this is not the solution. He says that you are afraid of the orphans, that you shouldn't be you shouldn't be unjust to them, but then because of this there could be other problems could be created in the society. So then at least for the purposes of upholding your honor or your noble character, you should marry more than one. Huzur is saying that this appears strange. This is a strange point of view. The problem is something else, and here the answer is something different. And another book says that nikah is permitted, and he says from this verse that other things that are being said about this verse. Huzur saying, now I'm presenting those before you. Huzur saying that what my point of view was, and what was a well-known point of view about this verse. I have already presented before you, and now Huzur is saying that I'm presenting to you those points because of which commentators have thought of some new things. فَانْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِنَ النِّسَاءِ. Sawi Zahir thinks that this means that nikah is essential, and for that they take instruction from this verse, that because of one فَانْكِحُوا أَمْرًا means that somebody has to do it. But I think Imam Shafi Huzur said, does not mean, he thinks it doesn't mean that nikah has to be performed in the sense that the person who doesn't do nikah, he will die in a haram way. This is also something that is derived, and they have used this verse to support their view, because they say fankihu is an order, is a command, and if there is a command, then what's the fay for then? The fay is in order to combine this to what happened before this, what was said before this, and means that if you are afraid of injustice, then it becomes compulsory. So it proves that this is not a general subject. There was an issue was raised, and the solution was given. The problem was that if you are afraid of committing injustice, then marry orphans or marry more than one. So it can be limited. It cannot be limited to this extent. And if it's to be made generalized, then you would say that it is in the sense of acceptance of marriage of more than one to more than one wives. So it's saying that it can be. They're saying that this deduction is wrong, that because the ankihu is a command, therefore for every man it is a obligation to get married. If he doesn't, then in this regard he'll be a disobedient person. He'll die a disobedient person, because for marriages there are different other reasons and some necessities which are not in the power of each person. If there is a person who is poor, if a person is physically such that nobody will be ready to fight with him, or his character is such that marrying him would become a source of punishment for someone. So to say that it is a command for everyone to marry, this is wrong. So saying that once I spoke about someone recently that on Sir, and why isn't he marrying? And then the answer was that if he doesn't do any work, then how is he going to marry? He was saying that if he doesn't do that, then if he can't get a job, he can looking for a job is an obligation, but finding it is not up to him. So there are many different problems, many different aspects which can influence whether a person can marry or not. So it is not a command like this book says. Imam Shafi says something very good. He says, فَمَنْ يَسْتَطِعْ مِنْكُمْ قَوْلًا إِلَّا ذَلِكَ sorry, I didn't catch the rest. That from this verse he derives that the Holy Quran says very clearly that if you are if you are able to, then you should do this. If you can't, then you should be patient and you should keep yourself safe. And when this verse is present, then how could you derive the conclusion from this verse that the Holy Quran is saying that every Muslim man and woman must marry? In Tafsir Ruhul Mani it says, this is also the same words that are being used here, that it is said that men used to marry 4, 5, 6 and 10 wives, and they would say that if other people can marry so many, why can't we? And then when their wealth used to come to an end, then they would clean up the money of the orphans under their care. So we're saying this is completely imaginary. One cannot imagine that people used to keep marrying 8 or 10 and they hadn't used the orphans' the orphans' money afterwards, after it all their own money ends. So it's completely imaginary. It cannot be true. So that they cannot be. So we're saying that so that they don't need the money of the orphans. We're saying that what if the so we're saying when if there's more marriages, there'll be more children, and the more there'll be dangers for the orphans' money. So it's the opposite of what they're trying to say. If then the need is to protect the wealth of the orphans, then it says that you must do something so that you are forced to eat from sorry. So we're saying that it's quite interesting to see how many angles people dig out in these issues and comment on them. So they're saying that they have, because everybody has to do something different, and they have to find a new point. So they go in search of a new point at when commenting on any verse. Another person has derived another issue out of this, which is very interesting. Tafsir Qasmi is asking if this is a Shiite commentary. Because they're saying that they're saying that fankihu ma taba lakum min an-nisa'i, this is a warning or of Athalis. The vow is for plural. So what they're deriving is that this means two each, and Thalatha means 3 each, and Huba means 4. This means that 3 plus 4 plus 2, 2 plus 3 plus 4, how many is that? So he's saying that it's actually 9 are being permitted. And he said that wait, he said that I've been careful. It's actually more than 9 because when it says 2, so 2 and 2 makes 4, and when 3 and 3 is being said, then that's 6, and when it is 4 and 4, so then that means that in total this is 18. And so you said, why you only stuck on 4 wives? You can actually have 18. Hazur saying, look at how they take these commentaries to strange limits. Hazur saying, Imam Razi
इसके आखिर पर
discusses this in detail,
की
and
रवायत
at the end of that,
आखिर
Aisha Zanha's reference is mentioned. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said that Anna Allah Ta'ulu
रवायत में अल्लाह
means
तमीलु
they don't
एक
transgress,
की तरफ
and
एक की
another
ना जाओ
chapter it says Allah Tamidu, in another verse they do not bow towards just one person. So it regards the permission to marry 4 wives as being based on justice,
ये खती शर्त
and
लगा दी
saying that this should be for the sake of
दूसरी औरत की तरफ
um,
दो शर्तें
justice, and this condition has been
एक को छोड़कर
put
दूसरी की तरफ
that if
मैलान ना कर
there are 2 wives, then you should not bow towards one more than the other. This is what it means. And the Holy Prophet ﷺ's translation is what the Holy Hazrat Aisha Zanha presented, that the Holy Prophet ﷺ took it to mean this, and also it means that don't start to transgress against one.
और इमाम राजी साहिब कशाफ का हवाला भी देते हैं
Imam Razi also gives the reference of Sahib Kashaf.
की बात खत्म होगी मैं देखता हूँ इसमें
So I'm wondering if it's Imam Razi or someone else.
हाँ ठीक है उन्होंने कुछ किया माँ ज़कर हो साहिब कशाफ है वो इमाम राजी ही साहिब कशाफ का हवाला देते हैं
Mazakaru, they're saying yes, it is him. So Imam Razi gives the reference of Sahib Kashaf
कि जब उसके अयाल की कसरत होगी तो उसका जुल्म करना
that
मुमकिन है यानी
when
ज़्यादा इम्कान बन जाता
his children shall increase, then it is possible for him to be cruel or to transgress, and then in these circumstances,
मुश्किल हो जाता
in order to attain good and pure
है बड़ा लतीफ़ है जो उठाया गया
provisions, is difficult to stay firm upon righteousness. And this is another very fine point, that when there is few sources of provisions, and the children are allowed, then such a person can then get involved in getting money for in a wrong way. So this is why for it's it has been said that it shouldn't be done. So in this case, Hazur is saying that the permission, the chance of the permission are very, very rare. So don't think that this is a clear is an injunction, or it's a permission for in general to be followed. This is completely wrong, and because a lot of ulama have thought of it in this way, well, so while some haven't, then they have given the Orientalists hands, they have strengthened their hands, and they have helped them to open their tongues against Islam.
एक और मुफस्सिर तफसीर मानी किसकी है ये
In Tafsirul Mani, Hazur is saying, whose is this? He's from Allama Urusi. He has said the same thing which Tafsir Qasmi has said, that in 9 women, in fact 18 women, 18 wives are allowed.
हज़रत इमाम बुखारी किताब तफसीर में ये रवायत लाते हैं हज़रत इब्न अब्बास की
Hazrat Imam Bukhari in Kitab al-Tafsir says, mentions this reference of Ibn Abbas, that apart from Ibn Abbas, all the others have taken this to mean that 2, 3 and 4 and Arabs did not go ahead of Ruba. Hazur is saying that what is actual Arabic? What does this mean, that Arabs don't go for ahead of Ruba?
ये तो मुराद नहीं कि ये दो का मुहावरा जो है ये रुबा पे जाके फैल जाता है और 5 के ऊपर इस्तेमाल नहीं होता
Huzur is saying that this does it mean that they stop at 4 and doesn't go ahead and get into 5? Probably this is what it is. Huzur saying Masna wa Sulasa wa Ruba is this is the phrase found in Arabic, and it doesn't include 5. This is what Imam Bukhari says, that this is where this stops, and there is no term for 5. And Huzur saying that as far as I have studied, you don't find khumasa anywhere, the word khumasa. Huzur saying you don't get khamsa khumasa, so what does this mean? So should we say what Tafsir Qasmi is saying, that because there was no phrase, so just make use of this? You should keep multiplying it, because there is no 5th in Arabic in this regard, in this sense. Now Huzur is saying, let me tell you about Allama Ibn Kathir. He most certainly he is against Allama Urusi, etc., and he's saying it's not at all permitted that it's not possible that it's permitting more than 4 wives. This is the verse. If this was the case, then it would have definitely been mentioned. Imam Shafi said that the Holy Prophet ﷺ, apart from him, for no other man, it was not okay for anyone else to have more than 4 wives. And he said that that was an exceptional command, and it had some other reasons. And this matter which Imam Shafi has written, at this ulama are Jamhur ulama are united. They believe that for an ordinary Muslim it is not possible for a normal Muslim to marry more than 4, and the Holy Prophet ﷺ Sunnah was only specific to him, except a particular Shiite people who say that it's okay to have 4 to 9 wives, and some of them have said that without setting limits. And this what they say that because Arabic finished, so otherwise the Quran couldn't say 5, otherwise there was no limit to how many wives somebody could have. And this action of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, they think that it is okay to have 4 to 9 wives. And because the Holy Prophet ﷺ had 9 wives, and it was not, and they think, but another commentator says that there must be only 4 wives, and in this there's a tradition which proves this. There was a companion called Hazrat Iman, I think, and when he accepted Islam, he had 10 wives, and the Holy Prophet ﷺ told him that only keep 4 of them and leave the rest. So it means that the custom was that they had more than 4 wives, and they had to be limited, and the question was as to who is going to be kept and who is going to be left. Tafsirul Mani says, which Huzur is saying that Huzur is reading the Arabic. Where it says that this Imam is saying that some people have said that the indication here is that more than one wife is beloved for that person
अल्लाह ताला ने ज़्यादा शादी
who
करने
is
को
not
मुकद्दम रखा है
who can
और एक
perform
शादी के अमर को
um,
अपने अदल के खौफ से बांधा
justice, because Allah has
हज़रत इमाम
sorry, Allah has said
कहा है
that
कि ला तौलू
one marriage should only be
नाम ज़्यादा हो तुम्हारी औलाद
permitted for that person who cannot perform justice.
ज़्यादा बड़ी हो
And another commentator have said that La ta'ulu means that you shouldn't have too many children. And this matter, when it is said that it is preferred that people should have more than one wife, I think this is wrong, because when permission is given, then the restriction is is strict that it applies to very few people. So it is saying that this gentleman, what he says
तुमने
is that you are only permitted to have more than one wife, only up to 4. That if your intention is that justice will prevail, you are certain that you will be able to stick with justice. And if this condition is not fulfilled, then one is better. And injustice doesn't just mean that give them equal. Injustice means that the Holy Prophet ﷺ, according to the Holy Prophet ﷺ's translation, that you should not bow more towards one and less towards another, and you shouldn't count some of them as one of them as being as you should not pay less attention to one as compared to the other. Another meaning would also be that injustice also means that you should have so many children that you cannot take care of them. So if you don't even have if you're not able to give the if you haven't got the capacity to look after more than one wife and a lot of children, then you shouldn't have them. And in this regard, most of the people in the world have become free of this permission, and as people who are rich, on them this doesn't apply, that because of the lack of money they shouldn't marry, and they can offer all their rights to them. If there are such people, then this does not act on them, and they are able to fulfill everyone's rights themselves. And of them, there are a lot of people who are unjust, and such injustices are usually committed by such rich people. So Huzur is saying that I have seen this in rich people's weddings, that it is very rare that most of them who get remarried, they leave the previous wives, and they do not take care of their rights, and their purposes of weddings are not to maintain justice, it's to maintain injustice and greed. And the first part of this verse, according to them, they shouldn't even be allowed to marry more than one wife. If you are afraid that you will not be able to have justice, Allah tuqsitu, that you will not be able to show justice, and then you should marry. And if you are going to be unjust, then how can you marry? So in some people's character has injustice in it, then they are not allowed to remarry. and we see this in most of the Islam in the Pakistani societies and other places as well, that men
और यही वजूद हुआ
men usually marry another wife to fulfill their fulfill their desires, and no, and they hardly ever never fight. Sorry, they hardly never marry for any other reason. So, and if this happens, then obviously then it creates injustice. So we're saying that very few people who actually marry more than one, especially in Ahmadis. It's very rare that people should marry two wives, and of them are such who live their lives with a lot of righteousness, so much so that the two wives live with each other like sisters, and they are above this command. They're saying that I've seen examples of this, that the two wives sacrifice for each other, and they sacrifice each other or for each other's children, and they pray for each other. Such examples are also seen, but these are exceptions. The few that do this, most of them are unable to fulfill these conditions. This is why the fights happen, and in some places the custom is that the people remarry and then they forget about the first wife and just make her sit at home. This is not at all permitted. So to regard those kind of weddings to put the blame of that on Islam, then that is completely wrong. Islam, you cannot attack Islam for people's attitudes or people's people's actions. The Quran's teaching, in essence, is so brilliant that no one can have the power or the capacity to ever criticize it. So to regard more than one marriage as being beloved, this is all the ulama's deceptions. So we're saying that Allah has set so many conditions. So how could it be that Allah prefers it? Imam Shafi and Bahr Muhit have written that what it actually means is that economically you should, if you have the capacity, otherwise you would become poor. If you are afraid that you will become poor, that means that you will not be able to fulfill the responsibilities, and you're not permitted at all. And Tafsir Bahr Muhit says that about Zalika Adna and Aqrab, and then La Tamilu Anil Haqqi, that this is closer, that this is more acceptable, that if you marry one woman, then that is better, because then you'll stay firm upon the truth, and you will not be able to you will not go away from injustice. So they're saying this is what mustahab is, this is what is loved by Allah. If you're staying with one wife, has more chances of you being just, and you are fulfill the proper rights, and you keep away from injustice and transgression, then this is better. And after saying this, how can you say that this is more beloved? But the more beloved in Allah is the one which is more righteous, and the more beloved in the eyes of Allah. Apart from that, it's only beloved for those who fulfill completely the responsibility, and they from no regard can they sacrifice justice and fair-mindedness. For them, it's love, beloved. This action of marrying more than one wife. The Prophet Islam has translated this verse, and he had given some very fine points, saying that when I present the Prophet Islam's sayings on this, so I will tell you what they say. The Prophet Islam says in the philosophy of the teachings of Islam on page 27, you're saying that there are different editions, and perhaps in some places it's in other pages, but he says, but you're saying that you will know that in khiftum la tuqsitu, and in the Islamic philosophy of the teachings of Islam, that the orphan ladies that you have under your care, to marry them is not wrong. But if you see that they haven't got anyone, and perhaps you might transgress against them, then you should marry those women who have parents, so that you are afraid of them. And this is the subject. This is the translation, which is right, that at that time it is not wrong to marry orphan girls. They shouldn't be thrown away because because of the fear of injustice. So, but if you are such that you think that someone who doesn't have anyone to look after them, you don't take care of them, especially because as when it comes to wealth, in a lot of countries, women's knowledge is less than men's. In some places they have a lot of knowledge, for example in African countries, because they are the ones who take care of money matters. But as far as normal situations are concerned, men are more experts in financial matters than women, and women who marry such men who's looking after their wealth, she won't even know what her husband's up to. And usually their parents take care these days, and this happens even these days in England. There was a difference of financial matters, and it was discovered that the man with whom there was a disagreement, that man's father-in-law was trying to take care of the financial matters. And I said, why don't they take care of it themselves? And they said that it is some of part of this is my daughter's, and because my daughter doesn't really understand financial matters, so I am more capable of seeing that, making sure that there's no harm. I was only saying this is not wrong. The Holy Quran has indicated towards this as well. If she does it in order to fulfill the rights of injustice, and she helps his daughter or his sister, then this is not wrong. Because Allah is saying, according to the Prophet ﷺ, that if you think that she doesn't have anyone to look after her, and no one will take care of her, and there is a danger that you would act like in this way, then you should stop. And then instead of marrying orphan girls, you should marry ordinary women who will who you will be afraid of, because they'd have people behind them, and you can marry up to 2, 3, 4. But only if you are able to show justice. And if you can't, then you have to keep just one wife. Even if you have a need. So and the 4 is the condition, is the limit, and the reason for this is so that you don't that the custom in the Arabs was that they to limit the hundreds that the Arabs used to marry to just 4, so that people who used to marry hundreds of wives, so that they don't do that, or that people should not bow towards other ills in the society. In this translation, all of everything is encompassed. All the aspects of commentary, they all come out from this translation. Now Huzur is saying, I have a bit of time, and he wishes to present what some Orientalists have said, their objections and their rubbish. And then when to respond to them, we don't have to go anywhere except what the Prophet ﷺ has said, and the defense that the Prophet ﷺ has done, that is enough. And we do not have to do any other response. Montgomery Watt, companion to the Quran, based on Arbery's translation. The point is presumably that each Muslim marries several wives. No girl orphans need be left in the inferior polyandrous conditions. Huzur is saying that this word polyandrous is very strange, that polyandrous or something is not mentioned anywhere, and because he has very deep poison against Islam, of the people who have been created to attack Islam, he is their forefather, Montgomery Watt. And look at his style. So saying that I also will tell you that in Arbery's translation, what is the point of presenting companion to the Quran? Arbery is an Orientalist who felt that the Holy Qurans, within the Holy Quran there is such a great beauty and such incredible power of words, that how all the translations that are done are completely devoid of the greatness and of the Holy Quran. And the reason he is saying is that most people prefer to stay near the Arabic text, whether the meanings are cleared or not, that this becomes a hindrance in the path of the translation. And the other thing he thinks is, and this is correct, and this we cannot deny, he says that the greatness of this word, it has to do with the language. And often the phrase of another language cannot be able to translate to remain as great as the original. So the greatness of the original is not found in the translation, because you have to sacrifice one thing or another. So when the Westerners see the translations of the Holy Quran, then they feel very strange, and they think that such words in which repeatedly some matters have been in which the claims are that find something in comparison to this, and they say that we don't find any wisdom in this, and they are used to reading Shakespeare, etc., and they say that this translation that's in front of us doesn't have that at all. Arbery says those people who know Arabic, they understand in reality how great and how incredible these words are of the Holy Quran. The translation that I'm doing, he said, is free of those restrictions which translators have set against themselves. That this translation is an attempt to present the greatness of the Holy Quran to the Westerners. And if I should be if I have tried to not sacrifice the subject of the Holy Quran, and despite that, the greatness of the Quran it should be included in the translation. Huzur is saying that when I was a student here, then at that time Huzur is saying for the first time this translation was published of Professor Abri, and that is when I I knew about him, and I have a lot of respect for him. He is a just fair-minded person, and he has got an attitude of friend, and he was a close. He was a friend of Chaudhry Sahib, Chaudhry Azfarullah Khan Sahib, and he sent a copy of his translation to Chaudhry Sahib, and Chaudhry Sahib, as a favor, he gave it to me, and he said to me that if you want to see a translation and how a translation is and how successful this is, that the greatness of the Holy Quran, it should also be reflected in the translation. So they were saying that I knew of him from there. They were saying that some people may get hurt by this translation, because this translation, the person who reads it is influenced greatly, and although sometimes he had made a mistake because of his lack of knowledge, but not because of any prejudices. They were saying that our ulama sometimes make mistakes. They offer them in a different way, which is not the real aim, and then again the better translations, there's a need to present better translations, and in this regard I'm not saying that he's representing the Holy Quran 100% correctly, but whatever he has presented is with justice and with love and with good intention. They're saying people will not like this, because Montgomery Watt felt the need that he should make a companion of this, so that any good effect of this, as far as it is possible, he should be able to remove them. So they were saying that I couldn't have read this, I couldn't read this because because these things have ill effect on my feelings, but he says the point is presumably that if each Muslim marries several wives, no girl orphans need be left in the inferior polyandrous conditions. So we're saying polyandrous is something where women marry more than one husband. Where is this discussed? Where is this discussed? We were saying where was that a custom in the Arab society or anything from which they might have taken this, and which Islam had to give a solution to this. And what does this polyandry have to do with this anyway? It's completely wrong. Polygamy is something else and polyandry is something else. Polygamy is that when someone marries more than one wife. Polyandry is to have more than one husband, and he says that from different polyandrous conditions, Islam has presented this, and it should be noted that this verse on which permission for a Muslim to have 4 wives is based does not restrict a previous unlimited polyandry. They're saying that look how prejudiced he is. They're saying that he's boiling on the inside. That Abri has done a good translation, and he has caused me so much trouble. So I should remove all the good influence of it, and let's attack Islam. So he's taken up the same point of view that has been mentioned by the Shiites. They're saying that most of the Shiites don't act in this way. There might be some ulama in the past, and all the Muslims have rejected them and said that this does not mean, you cannot take this to mean marry more than 4, and they've proved it from the traditions, and according to Holy Prophet ﷺ, and according to his instructions, all are united on this point of view, that there are the 4 is a limit, and before that there were more than that more wives than that
और वो जो वैरी
were
है
permitted
इस्लाम में, तो
in
वैरी
the Arabic society. He was saying today we shall finish, and tomorrow we should take up Orientalists from Wari and other Orientalists, etc. Inshallah.
इस्लाम में
He was saying that I'm not going to respond to him myself this time. I'm going to respond
सारा दिल ठंडा हो जाएगा.
the in the words of the Holy the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, which he gave in response to the Christians, and that shall console my heart. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.